Welcome, loves, to another episode of About Her. I have the wonderful Amy with me today. Amy, thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited to have you here and to dive deep into your work with breathwork and hypnosis. So I'm really curious about that. But before, I would love to have you introduce yourself a bit so that people can get a feeling for you.
Yeah, my name is Amy, as she said. I'm a hypnotist and I'm a breathwork facilitator, and I have many years exploring consciousness and just discovering myself. And the last few years, I have brought those two modalities together. So I am my whole, I don't know, I guess you could say my thing is what I love to do is help women in particular come home to themselves, to live from the truth of who they are. And I truly believe that in order to do that, we get to come home to our bodies, live from the heart space.
Yeah, we have that in common, the bringing people home back to themselves with different modalities. But I totally agree. It's often there is so much disconnection from our body, our physical vehicle here. And it's really interesting, I think, how much we can actually disconnect from the body, but how easy, again, if we kind of realize that it is to come back and to really find our way back to how we actually feel and get a new baseline for what it actually is that it's feeling ourselves feels like.
Well, it's a very challenging thing to do in this world, because this world, we are it's almost like we're going towards this virtual reality in a lot of ways. So it's really supported to live in the mind. And it's normal to go throughout your day and not even realize how you're not actually in your body, right? And why, I guess, when you can land in the body, let me just say what I experienced through the years.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I do what I do is because throughout my life, I was always super curious about who am I? Like, who are we as a collective, right? And that was sort of like on an intellectual level, I was like exploring all of that, but I didn't really get what it meant to be in my body and how good it actually feels. And what would happen for me was I went through many years of feeling lost and actually having a lot of confusion. There was not a lot of clarity, and I felt a little bit off my purpose.
Yeah.
So what happened for me through the breath work and also through experiences with plant medicine was this feeling of being in the body and how incredible it felt, and the clarity. Can I just say the clarity? I realized clarity does not come from your mind.
Yes.
When you have a regulated nervous system, when you know how to be in your heart space, that's when your intuition gets to come online. That's when you get to really listen to you, the truth. Because your mind, you can't trust it. I love it, but you can't trust it. You can't.
I'm smiling so hard because, when I'm thinking about school and how most of us have been brought up in Western culture, is clarity comes through the mind. Are you not thinking clearly is kind of a classical sentence. And we're so programmed to believe that everything happens up there. And yeah, that's an important part. So not devaluing it, but nobody ever told me or people I know living here in Europe with me, to really get clarity from the body and really how good it feels if you really, after a meditation or a breathwork session, having this feeling of tingling all over your body and the openness that comes with it, which I think is what you're referring to as clarity as well, this really feeling of total calmness and peace. And that is a baseline. I would love to have that in school, really taking that on from the early years, but
me too. Yeah, well, because when your nervous system is feels relaxed and open like that, your mind and body are constantly communicating. But we're so trained to go up to be and it all starts when you're little. It all starts when you're little because things happen, trauma happens, and it doesn't have to be a crazy cut, what we would think of a huge trauma, but we all have those little traumas, right? And we're taught inadvertently, not on purpose. We are taught to, it's not safe to, like, we just go, up, like we get out of the body because it's not, there's this feeling of it's not safe. Mm-hmm. And the truth is that actually, unfortunately, for a lot of us, and that there wasn't safe to be in the body. It truly wasn't. And so we don't want to be in our nervous system. We don't want to be feeling those things. So we tend to go up into the mind to try to think our way through life.
Yeah. Or go into addiction of any kind to like even go further away from feeling anything that might, that we think, perceive as dangerous, like this emotion coming up and it's like, oh, I can handle all of that. So I'd rather eat, drink, take whatever drug unconsciously just to, or do work, just to like numb that down because we feel like we can handle it because we're never being taught to.
We've never been taught that it's okay. Yeah. But what you're referring to, actually, what is so fascinating for all of us, even you and I are sitting here talking about it, how we still do the things. Yes, we have to remind ourselves, right? And so it's so interesting how what you just said, like I'll call it like the disassociation part, because it's unconscious. It's until we say to ourselves, I want to feel my feelings. I want to move through this. I want to release this, or whatever the thing is. We don't necessarily have the wherewithal inside of us to say, oh, I notice that every time something about this comes up, I literally go into social media and I just start scrolling.
Yeah.
Or I think, oh, I'm just going to go shopping online, or I'm going to go eat, or right. We really have to start to become aware of these things.
Yes, and it's often uncomfortable to do so because it has been a habit for so long, or the feeling of unsafety is so big that kind of a dangerous thing. And actually, it's kind of like really valued in the society, at least I grew up in, to say like, oh, well, don't be so emotional, being emotional and being in your body, which for this moment of conversation, I would say it's kind of the same thing,
right?
Is really looked down to, or is really discouraged. So you kind of are rewarded by not being emotional. That's at least how I grew up.
I think that's true in a lot of cases. I think that's true in a lot of places in the world, and also the culture of a lot of families, right? I mean, in this world, we really honor logic. And if we want to talk about like what you're talking about, emotion as being just feminine, and we're all masculine and feminine. I'm not referring to male and female, but this world is very masculine in the sense that, it is not supported necessarily it's becoming more so. More people are actually waking up to the importance of this, but what's a really interesting thing? I'm going to kind of just go in a little bit of a different path. When I first studied hypnosis and I decided that was something that I wanted to do, the doorway in for me, and it was very helpful. It was extremely helpful, but the doorway in for me was through a process that was very, we would always go back to the root cause of why. Mm-hmm. Now, did people get results with it? Absolutely. Did they, it was a beautiful thing. And also, I have learned since then, you don't have to know why anything to heal.
Yeah, which is so hard for the logical mind to wrap your head around, that you don't need to know it, isn't it? Like, I feel a lot of pushback from like, but you need to like, we're kind of used to therapy and digging deep into stuff that happened early, that we think we need to find out the why so that we can heal because it's a logical process. But it doesn't have to be, which is, I think, opening so many doors, as you said, to like work in another really profound way.
Oh, yeah.
Even much more profound because you're speaking directly to the body and not to
you're speaking to the subconscious mind and the body. The subconscious mind is the body, lives in the body, right? It's all of it. I mean, we're truly multidimensional if you want to get into that. But think about this when you were a little child and you were crying and your parents, like, they don't know better. And I wouldn't honestly, until a few years ago, I wouldn't even thought of this, but you ask your child, why are you crying? Why are you crying? What happened? Instead of, what are you feeling? You know what I mean? Do you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, it's so ingrained that, and so what happens in that moment, you're this little kid and you're like, why am I crying? And then you literally look up, like, you're like, oh, because, and you're trained to like go into the story. And the challenge with that is that we can really loop on stories.
Oh, yeah. I feel we're quite good at that, I feel.
Amazing. I'm the best.
Well, but the question is that really something to be so proud of? Or wouldn't it be like you said, I was just letting that sink in because like my son's 7 now, at
Yeah.
like I think a really interesting age when we talk about subconscious work. Um, and it's like, how are you feeling at the moment? And
Yeah.
like you said, even though I do a lot of work in that field since years, it still is happening to me that I kind of go into the head when things happen, or that an old program comes up and I
Yeah.
react in a way that actually I don't want to react. Or
Yeah.
it's really interesting how deeply these things are installed and where they come from, where I think like, well, haven't I cleared up so much? Haven't I released so much? But still there's things
Yeah.
happening. That's because like how often have we been treated that way, or have we been asked to go into the logic instead of like really
Yeah.
regulating our system and like really being in tune with the body? So it's no wonder actually that it's
It is. And I mean, we do have to have compassion for ourselves. And like when I think about my parents and them doing that, I don't have anything around, because I know that we're all doing the best that we can. Like we're just doing, you know what I mean? We're all doing the best that we can. That's it.
great.
And really, actually, the more that we can learn to be in our body, the more that we can start um, to have awareness around these things, right? We can have more awareness, and we can live from the heart space. We can live from that part of us that really just is the knowingness of who we are versus the story of who we think we are.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about allowing ourselves, isn't it, to like really own
Yeah.
feeling and also have the confidence that we are capable of holding whatever comes up there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What's amazing about your son, because he's 7, from the, you know this, but like from 0 to 8, let's say 7 or 8, a child's subconscious mind is just wide open. They don't have the conscious mind. So for us, we can literally say, I'm not letting that in. We can say that. We can choose that. Our conscious mind is strong, very too strong. But anyway, we can choose not to let something in if we're paying attention, right? A child, everything they see and hear goes straight into the subconscious. So it's literally building how they see reality, the lens in which they are going to create their life.
Yeah. Isn't it
That's
fascinating
incredible.
time? And at this
Yeah.
time, you think as a mother, like, oh my God, trying to do everything right. But then again,
Right.
not possible and also not necessary because
No.
they choose us as parents for a reason and everything like happens divinely orchestrated, which doesn't mean you don't have to do your best, but it's kind of like there's no, oh, I did that wrong because as you said, ourselves is super important, not just in parenting, but in general. This like really, we did our best in that moment. And when we didn't react the way we want or would like to, then it's not because we are bad people. It's just because
No.
we didn't knew better or we haven't been aware to access that wisdom in that moment.
Absolutely. And we're all like that, regardless. So I think that now, of course, the people who listen to your podcast are obviously people who are interested in learning about new things, possibly like expanding and seeing themselves in a whole new way. Yeah. And I think that for us, now we're the infinite layers of, like an onion, like just kind of, opening up to more and more, learning about more and more who we are. And the more we do this, the more we can, be the truth of who we are, the more we actually have a choice. We actually get to choose.
Yes.
Right?
That's really beautiful, isn't it? Like that, I feel this maybe selfishness of caring for ourselves, which has been a big thing when I grew up, which is gratefully, like I'm really grateful that it's kind of dissolving. But actually, it's the other way around is what I want to touch upon, is that the moment we connect with ourselves and like really make the effort to lean into our body and care for ourselves and not try to better ourselves just for the sake of improvement, but for like connection, this ripples out to all people we are in contact with, and ultimately, like, of course, everyone, because we are interconnected. But there's so much benefit for the collective as well if an individual soul chooses to like really kind of step up and say like, okay, I want to do things differently. I want to like learn myself. I want to discover who I really am, or remember what I'm actually here for. And that is like really such a source of inspiration and hope, I feel, to witness that in other people. You don't have to do anything specific for someone. It's just like, if you do your thing and people witness you, that can be the greatest source of inspiration.
Absolutely.
I'm to start.
I believe that, a lot of us who hold space for others and with others, right? A lot of it is not what you do. It's who you be, as they say. It's who you are, who you be. Like, how are you able to sit inside of yourself in your wholeness from that perspective of remembering that you are whole and complete. And when you can hold yourself in that space and you're sitting with another person, being with them and sharing your gifts, and they're going through a process, then they're more imprinting off of that, than anything that's happening. Yeah. I have I'm going to just tell you about a client, because I think this really I have this client come to me. I have a lot of clients who happen to also be healers of some sort, and she came to me because she was feeling a little bit like not really knowing what her next steps were in her business. But as we were talking, kind of getting into it, what became very apparent was, two things. One is she just wanted peace from her mind. Like the self-doubt was just so big for her. And the second thing was she really wanted to connect with her purpose and her mission. And so it wasn't a talking thing. Yes, we did do some hypnosis and we got into the relaxed state. But really what happened was we went into breath work and she started breathing. And as she was breathing, so many things were starting to come up. Her body, she went through a whole thing. Her body went through a big releasing in a particular area of the body, stuff that had been stuck there for a long time. But what was really amazing was that during the breath work, she wanted the clarity. It's like she wanted to go into the experience and come out with, now I know what to do next.
Yes.
But what she really received was even deeper than that. It was how to connect with the true essence of who she is.
Wow.
And her in the moment that she was breathing and we were, deep in the hypnosis, what got to happen for her was she connected with a part of herself that she had forgotten about so long ago. And not to get like all detailed into the story, but I would just say that she went into what is her true soul essence. And when that happened, and it has unfolded. So for her, she needed that experience to realize how much she'd been up in her head. And the confusion is so real when you're in your head.
Yes.
Because it's like, first off, the mind is just constantly moving. It's not, it's like this and it's that. And it's that. But also when we can release a lot of emotions from the body, the mind gets a lot clearer.
Yeah.
It just does.
Beautiful. It's so beautifully built, I think, that the moment we drop into our bodies, this relaxation of the mind almost happens with it, because of the tensioning we lose up, or because of whatever. There's maybe 1,000 ways to explain it, but like these interconnectedness of the subconscious, the body, and the like conscious part of them. I think it's really such a beautiful work. And I've got shivered when you said that she connected to her essence, because if you have that, clarity is kind of natural, isn't it? Next steps are kind of like coming online as you walk, and you can trust them because you know who you actually are, and you have remembered a lot of what it is that you're here for. So it's kind of like the much deeper layer of what she asked for, but the so more powerful way of working or getting the next steps in your business. It's
Absolutely.
hard.
What she walked away with, and what we really like nailed down, what she nailed down, I would say, was this is like getting into the space. She walked away knowing how to bring herself back into her essence. So it's like, this is a practice. This isn't like a one and done deal. Like, what all the things that we get to experience through the body, your body always remembers, just like it remembers and holds trauma. So when you release it, you release a lot of that. What happens is, because your body actually, some would say that your thoughts actually come from your body, because your nervous system is always trying to like keep you safe. That's its number one job. It is not to help you thrive. We love our nervous system, but its number one job is to keep you safe, keep you alive. That's it. So when you've had traumas, you've had emotional things, you haven't processed them, they are in your nervous system, whether you're thinking about them or not, they're there. And they're constantly trying to keep it like, wait, is that safe? Or is that going to feel like that thing did 10 years ago, or whatever it is? No, I need to keep you away from that. But in order for you to really grow and expand and be the person that you're meant to be, we've got to move past the paradigm. We've got to move past the old stories. And so in order to do that, we have to give safety to the body.
Yes. It's so interesting that you talk about the safety, because that's something that I've realized way down in my path after learning about all the like mindset work, the paradigm work, which I'm doing a lot of. Suddenly it kind of clicked, and I said like, okay, well, the thing that people mostly need from me, or that the kind of underlying theme, is just like the feeling of safety. And it seems so very profound, but like a bit too simple at the same time. And I think that's actually what we really need to get this clarity and to move out of this stuckness that so many of us hold. So that's what I'm getting from what you just said right now, kind of as a confirmation, which is really soothing. Is like this, the moment we feel that safety, however we kind of manage to do so, that's when we can move forward. That's when we can really like start changing habits, because the nervous system doesn't have to like push back, because it feels unsafe if we do change that thing. But it can like really, it can go with us. We can like kind of work together more. And the nervous system then can help us thrive, but we kind of like reprogram the way we're going.
I believe too, for me, it's so important that when I'm working with somebody, and also for myself, the way I learned how to give myself safety. I know how to give myself safety. And sometimes, and that's so key. That is so incredibly key. Let's say, so all the clients that I have, and, one of the things that I'm always working with them on is how to work with the places in the body that are not safe, or feeling the thing, like it's the anxiety, maybe it's a sadness, whatever it is. We've got a lot of stuff going on. How can we bring more love into that area? It's the opposite of disassociating. It's opening up your heart space to it. It's, we have had, many of us, lifetimes of shame, right? And shame is trying to, shun something or someone, and like, no, you should be, right? We want to do the opposite here. We want to open ourselves up so that part of us, which is essentially like frozen in time. It's frozen in time in a sense. Then when we open up our heart to it, can feel it and say, yeah, I hear you. Of course you feel that way. and allow it to, what we do is we literally let it come home to us.
It's like so retrieval, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It's actually like the picture that comes up when you speak about that is like that little sparkle of light that kind of comes back, feeling back magnetized to the whole soul that we have in here, and how beautiful it is to like integrate that from however many lifetimes back, or in this one it actually
in this one too, yeah,
so much, but like
doesn't
when
matter.
things back and we kind of like regather all these parts that were frozen in time is really actually nicely put. Somewhere at some point, but they're not lost. I feel like there's just hopelessness, when people are like really stuck for a long time, and it's like, oh, I will never overcome this. I'm never gonna able to change. But that's so not true, because
right,
you haven't just accessed it, or you haven't just like found your way to change. It's not that you cannot, and that's really a different thing. So I feel like it can give a lot of people a lot of hope to see it like that.
I think so too. And I just want to say that when we feel that way, like what you just mentioned, something in that way, it's that voice, that little part of you, their voice is very loud. They're very loud and overtake everything. A lot of times it can feel like that, because you do get to listen. You do get to open to them. And we can feel like, I can't deal with this. Like, I can't imagine, right, having to listen more than I already do. But it's from a different space. It's from a different space, so that, because we're actually, as humans, we're designed to experience emotion through the body, like a wave through the body. We feel it to its fullest, and then it gets to alchemize, and we kind of let go of it, or we transmute it into something else. That's the design. I mean, there's neuroscience studies on this. Like, it's really, they say like 90 seconds to feel an emotion. And if it's beyond that, then what's happening is we're going into the mind and we're doing a loop. It's just really fascinating.
Isn't that amazing? Like, I love that you mentioned it, because it was in my head too, and I wanted to ask you about. So thank you. Because like for me, I was kind of like, from past lives, for me, it was really not safe to feel my emotions. So my whole like teenage years, I was like, emotions, no, it kind of took me a long time to get the why. I've kind of got parts of the why, but when I realized, and it wasn't a thing until like 4 or 5 years ago, when I've heard it's only 90 seconds, that emotion, when I fully like accepted into myself, like, oh, 90 seconds, well, I can handle 90 seconds of any emotion, even like the really heavy ones. But this was kind of my permission slip. And I know a lot of people had the same experience when they learned that, to say like, okay, well, for 90 seconds, I can feel that really terrible grief, or that anger, or whatever it is, that shame, because if it's only that short, I can deal with it. And from that, I think it grows a lot of like strength, confidence, remembering of, we are actually, I think it's about losing control often. So
yes,
we're actually 90 seconds, and then it kind of, the wave crashes, and you can, like you so beautifully said, transmute it and alchemize it into wisdom that lives within you. Yes, but from you access this from a different level than afterwards.
Yeah, and you're literally allowing those parts. They'd be like, I've been trying to tell you this. Like, I've been trying to, like, I need you to feel this with me. It's like, it's yeah. And then we're literally releasing out of the nervous system.
Yeah.
And I know this, I mean, it is so powerful, right? And I know for myself, when I've been able to sit with this, even sometimes the body will sweat, you will cry, you might be shaking. It's like, wow. And that's your nervous system releasing.
Yeah.
This happens a lot in breath work.
Yeah.
The amazing things happen in breath work. Incredible things. When the releases start to happen, I know we're talking a lot about like healing these parts of us, but I also want to introduce the idea that as we do that, that's when we start to access so many more incredible, profound resources, right? We start to access what I call higher self wisdom, which you can could be a version of you. I help people connect into versions of themselves that have already stepped or are already living that way. But I also mean it in a spiritual sense too. Yeah. Connecting with the part of you that absolutely knows that they are the oneness of all that is expressed as Anna, or expressed as Amy, or expressed as whoever we're talking about here, right? And because when we make that kind of space, then we open ourselves up to more reality that is actually here. We just didn't have access to before. Right?
I agree 100%. And isn't it so beautiful that everything's there? And the moment we kind of find our way to open that door, things appear out of nowhere. Actually, all this wonderful wisdom can appear. It has been there before, but we just haven't realized it, or we haven't had the courage or like the key to access it. But it's already within you. And as you said, like, we all are interconnected, so there's everything already at your fingertips, depending on how you find the way.
Right. And because everything we need or want is inside of us already. It's just a matter of accessing it. If you admire somebody out in the world, right? And you're like, oh, wow, I just love the way that they are. I love the way they speak. I want that. Like, I want to, whatever. It's already in you. Yeah. You wouldn't even be able to notice it in somebody else if you didn't have it already within you. And the fact that you desire it is just, it is a way for you. It's like your soul calling you and saying, hey, like, let's become the person who gets to do that, because everything that we desire is literally a calling from your soul. And I truly mean that. Like, I know that in different cultures, it's really looked down upon to want too much, right?
Many of them.
Right? But it's not about the thing. It's about the feeling that it gives you. And it's also about that when there's something really big you want, if it's a house, if it's a car, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It might be just freedom, financial freedom, so you have time with your family. There's no judgment. It's in order for you to have, be, do, or have that, then what it is your soul. You get to grow into that. So the growth that comes with that is really what your soul wants. Yeah. And the feelings that you get to experience with that, that's what you want. Right.
And I feel why it's often I feel it's suppressed from many of our societies. There's like, oh, you cannot have it all. Or there's like, this is just to like not bring us into our power. It's kind of like a safety mechanism, let's say, for the structures that we have in place right now, so that we are not accessing our power. Because, like, imagine everyone would do what you just described, connect to their higher selves and really get in touch with the wisdom of all there is. We will live quite a different world right now, and we would have like all that, what you just touched on, the freedom or the connection to ourselves or the confidence or whatever you're desiring. But this desire that is really meaning something, it's kind of a roadmap. And if we would all understand that and kind of act like it, things would shift.
And things are shifting because more and more people are actually waking up to it. They're realizing what a divine creator that they are, that we are essentially creators. We came here to create, and we just forgot. You could say it was purposely hidden from us, right? Whatever road you want to go down with that. But there's many, many people on this planet waking up, and it really is my greatest joy to be a part of that. And I know it's probably yours as well. Like, many people on this planet doing things, many things, contributing to raising the consciousness, and just this vibration of unconditional love, because that is something that we are all of us are.
Yes.
And that's just the nature of who we are.
And it's about allowing ourselves to go down that path. And I feel like for me, in this lifetime is really such an amazing one, because it feels like a big relief of like, oh, finally we're able like to go really collectively step into that more and more. And I believe, like you said, that there are more people waking up or remembering what it's actually about and tapping back into their gifts. And I feel like this is such a beautiful time to really be alive as someone who's already a bit aware of that. And only like, I feel it's only tiptoeing in. There's so much more still, that that there is not even conscious awareness of, but it feels so light to see that more and more of us are remembering that. And there's this collective co-creation as well. And this like empowerment beyond like, oh, I need to be just satisfied with what it is. And I need to kind of like make my way through life. That's just something that we collectively can let go as a paradigm. And oh my God, thank you. Like can like really leave.
Yes, I believe that there's a wave. I feel it, I feel it, and it's happening. And I think that everyone, we all have our gifts that we get to bring to the world. And the way that I love, and this is the way it is right now, but the way that I love to access the truth within myself and help others access that truth is to communicate through like hypnosis, through the subconscious mind, and that the super consciousness, that's connected to all of this. And through the breath, I don't know of a more powerful medicine than the breath. And I say this as a plant medicine woman. Like, I have sat with plant medicine many times. It's so powerful, and I'm so grateful. And the wisdom is infinite. And the breath is your own. It's your own breath. And it is just truly your medicine. It is truly, truly your medicine.
Which is so beautiful, I think, from a spiritual perspective as well as from like a more mechanical one. But this thing that we do all the time to like keep ourselves alive is actually the action that can help us access all this wisdom that is kind of in us, around us as well. I think it's really beautiful. Like many indigenous cultures talk about like breath is like spirit that we breathe in and out, which I think is really, really beautiful as a picture. But like you said, there is no, you don't need to. Plant medicine is beautiful, or whatever we can do as tools. There are so many, but the breath is always there and it's accessible all the time, which I think makes it really special once we acknowledge it, because often I feel it's so underrated. And like you might,
because it's so simple. It's almost too simple. Honestly, it's amazing. I think that like what with the breath, we can live without food for a long time before we will die. We can live without water for about 4 or 5 days. Not a long time, but a few days. We cannot live without breath for more than a few minutes. I mean,
how powerful it is,
right? We just can't.
Yeah.
We have to have it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's our connection.
It is our connection. And for myself, I've really even started to go deeper with this. Like, of course, I'm doing breath work, right, with people. And now I've recently just started to come into this place of like how important it is, even in your life, like while you're working, while I'm sitting with someone, is to just notice the breath and breathe into the nose and just out of the mouth, and just keep or to stay present with it. Because when you're doing that, you're present.
Yes.
You're not actually listening to all the parts of you that don't feel connected. You're actually coming into a place and you're making yourself safe so that those parts of you feel safe. And you don't have to be even in a deep breathwork session to do that.
Maybe it's about the simpleness that is like so easy to forget, as you mentioned, that we kind of running around, maybe not properly breathing most of the time, but still it's the most easily accessible tool. And I mentioned when we've talked last time, you said like the connection between the breathwork and the hypnosis was almost like so clear, because you're kind of like it kind of flows into one or into the other. Because if you are in a deep like breathwork, it's almost like an hypnosis. So I love the combination, because it's so hidden in plain sight.
It is. What happens is when you go into, so your brain waves change when you're in a trance. And so the brain waves, we walk around in beta. And then when you start to go into a hypnotic trance, by the way, we all go into hypnotic trance all the time. You do not need to be consciously hypnotized when you're watching TV, when you're driving, and like you've been to the place 1,000 times. You're not, sometimes you kind of go off on a daydream. That's hypnosis. But what happens is that it drops down into alpha, and then it can drop even deeper into theta. So when you're breathing, that actually happens. It happens. So a lot of times, sometimes when I'm with people, I will take them into a soft hypnosis, but I often don't need to do that. I just take them into the body. We drop in, we connect energy wise, and then we begin the breath. And as you're breathing, the conscious mind in the beginning can be quite, this is terrible. Oh, this is so hard, blah, 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 right? Eventually what's going to happen though is you're going to drop beneath it. You're going to start to go into that beautiful space. And so when that happens, and often I'll do this in groups, that's when I bring in things like I will often take people on a journey, or I will ask a question and let their unconscious mind kind of unravel a question in their own experience, their own space. Because from that place, you are wide open for healing.
Yes. How beautiful. And how beautiful to do that in group settings, I think. To have the vibration of this collective access at the same moment, each of them individually, but like of course together too. So I imagine it's
super powerful in groups. It's super powerful in groups.
Yeah.
It's a collective field when you get people together, and it's just really interesting what can happen, what gets to happen. There's definitely a vibe with every group, and sometimes it gets very cosmic. Sometimes there's a lot of like collective inner child healing. There's a lot of different things that get to happen. It's just really, I love the power of a group.
I agree.
To receive and to give, both. Yes. I love it.
Yes, I imagine it's really powerful to do that together with other like-minded people. And often I feel like it's a soothingness of how others are going through that too. Others are experiencing that too. So it both has its own magic to do it like one-on-one, or to do it even alone. Like we are unconsciously going so much into hypnosis, even though maybe we've never consciously thought about that.
Yeah.
So the access is there all the time. It's more like about what do you use it for? Yeah. Do you do like online programs as well for for people coming all over the world to listen to this? Is there any access to you like in the online space as well?
Yeah, no, I primarily, I do in-person groups a lot, and I also do online. And I'm going to start doing more of them. I'm just switching over my software, blah. You don't need to know all that stuff. But anyway, I love offering online group. It's beautiful because you're comfortable, you're in your home.
Yeah.
And you get to have the experience, with other people, but also like in your own comfort and in the quiet of your space, right? So very, very powerful stuff. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I actually work with most of my clients online anyway, so I'm definitely in the online space.
Yes. Oh, that's really good. So I will link everything below so that people can get access, because I think we just talked about like how powerful it is to do it in a group session, but that doesn't mean that it needs to be in presence. Yes, it's
right.
But it's also like super amazing to do things knowing that other people at the same time are doing the same thing with you, even though they're not in your home. Yeah. So I believe that there are so many right now with technology, there are so many options that we have, and it's so beautiful to like access all of this wisdom and do these travelings and rememberings together.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank God for the online world, right?
We would never have met, so I'm really grateful.
Yeah, we have friends all over the world because of it.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
We have not gone into metaphysics and so many other things I wanted to ask you.
We'll
time
probably
zone.
have to do another
I feel
podcast.
we will like just do another turn in a few weeks
Yeah.
whenever we find time, because yes, I would love to like touch on that even deeper. And
Yes.
yeah, oh, there's so much. So
Yeah.
I thank you so much for now
Thank
and
you.
for sharing your wonderful gifts and the insights. It has been very joyful to me, and I'm very sure for the listeners as well. And yeah, would love to come back to round two for
I'd
that.
love it. Thank you so much, Anna. I love
Thank
being
you,
here. Thank you
Vicky.
so much.
Have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I hope we speak very soon. Bye.